Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Book Snippets here at Brainplit's Audios. Today we have a very interesting book to share with you. Mark Clifford Serreze, born in 1960, is an American geographer and the director of the National Snow and Ice Data Center, NSIDC, a project of the University of Colorado Boulder. He officially became its director in August 2009, and in 2019, he was named as a distinguished professor in the Department of Geography. Serreze is primarily known for his expertise in the Arctic sea ice decline that has occurred over the last few years and decades due to global warming, a topic about which he has expressed serious concern. His most popular book on the topic is Brave New Arctic, the Untold Story of the Melting North. In this book, he recounts the decades of scientific detective work that reveal how this warming trend is not part of a natural cycle, but the result of human activity. In this fascinating and frightening read, he asserts that the North Pole serves as a warning system of what will happen to the lower latitudes. Mark is of the view that the Arctic is raising a red flag. The Arctic is warming twice as fast as the rest of the world. Glaciers are melting, ice caps are disappearing, the permafrost is thawing, and land animals, fish, and flora are migrating to new habitats. These rapid changes show that climate change is here and now. The author wants to make clear how science, especially climate science, works in finding solutions. This is done from the viewpoint of a scientist working in the field. He compares scientists to detectives pursuing a human enterprise by looking for clues. Moreover, he talks about how it took scientists some time to accept that the Arctic changes were anthropogenic. He justifies that their scientists are trained to be skeptic, and in the mid-90s, there was no convincing evidence of human impacts on the Arctic. It took multiple researchers until mid-2003 when this conclusion became inescapable. Since 1990, the physical characteristics of the Arctic have transformed dramatically as a result of climate change. Sea ice cover was retreating throughout summers and winters, with the permafrost beginning to thaw. Climate records indicate that warming in the Arctic is proceeding twice as fast as the rest of the world, and Serreze believes this meltdown up north was a clear demonstration that humanity has come to the point where we are geoengineering our own planet. Since the Arctic system was so complex, it was difficult for scientists then to determine whether these changes were natural or man-made. Many factors play a role in changing the Arctic makeup, and further research was needed. The author believes that climate change and its effects are unfolding faster in the Arctic than in other places because of a feedback loop known as Arctic amplification. This means that the melting of ice and other associated phenomena produce effects leading to further warming. The albedo, or reflectivity, was high in the Arctic when it was covered in ice. As the ice cover retreats, both the ocean and surrounding land absorb heat from the sun due to them having lower albedo. This means that heat is absorbed in the Arctic and released later, which results in further warming. Mark notes that the most apparent change in the Arctic's cryosphere is the extent of sea ice. The extent varies in different seasons and year to year, but records show the ice has been retreating at a rate of around minus 3.2% in January, minus 3.5% in February, and minus 13.3% in between April to September every decade. He writes, as the Arctic loses its cryosphere, it also loses its soul. Other changes are being observed in the Arctic. The permafrost, or frozen soil of the Arctic, is rising in temperature, and in some places, thawing. This can cause the land to rise or fall, with consequences for roads, buildings, and pipelines. Concurrently, the masses of glacial ice and ice sheets are dropping, resulting in sea level rise. Ice mass is being lost at a faster pace in Greenland than the Antarctic. This also accelerates the North Pole's water cycle, in light of the fact that river discharge to the Arctic Ocean has increased. Serreze also writes that the tundra got greener between 1982 and 2012, according to satellite data. Research also shows that fish species such as cod, haddock, and salmon are migrating from the south. Bowhead whales are thriving in the Arctic, while polar bear populations decline. Mark writes that scientists during the 1990s were focused on identifying whether anthropogenic changes were affecting the Arctic. The region is already highly volatile due to natural variability cycles such as the North Atlantic Oscillation, NAO, and the Arctic Oscillation, AO. He states, "We have also learned that natural climate variability and greenhouse warming can themselves be entangled." Research into NAO and AO became a cornerstone of the new Study of Environmental Arctic Change, or SEARCH program, which began in 1998 with funding from the US National Science Foundation. These changes observed were called UNAMI, from a Yup'ik word meaning tomorrow. However, by the early 2000s, many scientists concluded that natural variability was an insufficient cause for the melting of Greenland's ice sheet, ice caps, and glaciers, and the appearance of shrubs in treeless expanses of tundra. Modeling experiments suggested higher greenhouse gas concentrations were a crucial component of the temperature increases. It was by 2003 that the conclusion of anthropogenic warming of the Arctic was firmly concluded. In 2004, the Arctic Council, an intergovernmental forum, published the Arctic Climate Impact Assessment, or ACIA, in conjunction with the International Arctic Science Committee. It asserted that the Arctic's changes were likely to accelerate, driving ecological and social consequences around the globe. This report drew media attention and persuaded scientists about the effect of greenhouse warming. Serreze notes that these changes are ongoing. At current rates of melting, winter ice will get much thinner and snow will melt earlier during the seasons. By 2050, it's estimated that the Arctic will be completely ice-free in the summer. The Arctic will become more accessible to shipping, and how nations will negotiate rights and access to the lands and oceans of the Arctic remains unclear. All Arctic countries are currently surveying in the region to claim the Arctic Ocean. The issues do not stop there. Currently, permafrost carbon feedback and impact on thawing on world climate remains to be fully understood. Arctic permafrost contains an estimated 800 gigatons of frozen carbon, about 2 times the amount the atmosphere holds now. As the permafrost thaws, organisms in the soil will eat the organic matter it contains and release carbon into the atmosphere. This will add to the carbon already being released by the use of fossil fuels, raising temperatures and maintaining a vicious cycle by continuing permafrost thawing. Thawing of the permafrost in the seafloor might lead to the release of the fossil fuel gas methane. Various researchers also argue that Arctic amplification could change the characteristics of the jet stream and thus affect weather patterns elsewhere. Scientists now believe that events in the Arctic will drive changes in weather in the middle latitudes. As a book showing the perspective of a scientist in the field, this book is a very important and intriguing read. It clearly illustrates the problems plaguing the North Pole and their severity. I would definitely recommend this book as a valuable addition to your reading list. And that concludes this episode of Book Snippets. For more of our useful and interesting content, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Brainblitz Audios, and also hit the notifications icon in order to receive our latest content. Until the next episode, take care, stay safe, bye-bye for now.